Alright everybody, this is a video I've had a couple people ask about, and they've asked for, my opinion on the drop kit. Been about 4 months or so since I put it on. And I want to give a couple updates and some pointers and advice and whatnot on this drop kit, which I'll link again in the description if you haven't seen the previous video. What we have is a 2002 Ford Ranger V6 3.0, two-wheel drive automatic. It's my wife's truck, but here lately I've been driving it more than her. I hadn't got to drive it in the last about 2 weeks or so. If you've seen one of my other videos, I stated I had surgery on my foot. So I'm just now getting to where I can move around and walk. So I'm going to go ahead and get this video for you. Now, one of the first things that I had to do with this was, granted I'm running the stock factory size tires, which I really don't suggest. Get you a smaller profile tire. Right now and then, because this is a 3/6 drop, 3 in the front, 6 in the rear. The front tires, because they are oversized factory style size tires, they tend to rub on the inside fender weld. So what I did was I took the plastic trim out, and it rubbed a little bit less. And I also took the bump stops out, because it was sitting on the bump stops, made the ride really rough. And in the back there, I took the bump stops out because, again, it was sitting on the bump stops. Now, like I said, it was a 3/6 originally. What I ended up doing was I took the drop shackles off the back, because the shocks that come with this, if you get this kit, I would recommend three things. First will be better shocks, front and rear. Secondly, for the front, if you can see how my front tires kind of camber in at the top, would be get the camber bolt adjustment kit. And third would be to get the low profile bump stops front and rear. What I ended up doing with the back, because it was bottoming out so much and banging axle against the frame, was I actually took the drop shackle, the 2-inch drop shackle out that came with the kit, and put the factory drop shackle in. But let's see if I can do this here. This is one-handed. I don't know if you can see how much bounce and play is in this. That's one-handed. So it's got a lot of bounce and play. The shocks, like I said, are a little too soft for my liking. And then again, as you can see with the camber on the front, but your camber bolt adjustment kit's not hard to install. You just pull the original camber bolt out, slide the new one in and adjust it. And then of course I'd recommend getting an alignment afterwards. Something else I would recommend after a couple miles of driving, get it up on all 4 tires or all 4 wheels in the air. Like, get you some spare wheels like that, stick under each tire where the suspension is under load, and retighten everything as far as the suspension goes, especially in the back with your U-bolts. Just tighten them back up, make sure they haven't slid or shifted or anything like that. But it's always best to do it under a suspension load. Even when you install the kit, before you really start driving, I'd suggest putting it back up on 4 wheels where it's got a suspension load. That way you can tighten everything properly. That way your rear end doesn't shift like this, forward or back, as you take off or back up, because the U-bolts, will have to have time to settle. Suspension will need to settle and everything like that. And just like I said, go back and retighten everything a little bit at a time. Don't over torque it to where you bend the plates underneath for the U-bolts or anything. But overall, I like the ride. It is, like I said, it's stiff, but the shocks that come with the kit, if you find better shocks to go on instead of the shocks that came with it, it would improve dramatically, as well as with some bump stops. Just like I said before, the factory bump stop, the lower A-arm on the front was literally sitting on the bump stop. so it had no travel whatsoever. Now that I've cut them completely off, I've got a little bit of travel, so I do have to be careful, say, you know, train tracks or big bumps in the road, because it will jar your teeth out if you hit them too hard. I haven't felt anything as far as oil pan, cross member, anything like that underneath hit or bottom out yet. It's just the suspension travel is very limited with these shocks. It travels too much, and with no bump stops, it hits, you know, metal on metal, and it's kind of a jarring effect. But as far as what I paid for the kit, compared to what the price of, say, a DJM kit or Beltec or anything else, I mean, I'm happy with it. My wife, what little bit she drives it, she doesn't have too many complaints other than the shocks themselves, which is the same complaint I have. But overall, it's not a bad kit. But like I said, I recommend, if you do get it, go ahead and maybe buy the kit that doesn't come with the shocks. That way you can go and buy some better shocks. And unfortunately, I don't have a good shock to recommend. I still haven't found one myself yet. So if you know a good shock that'll bolt up the new model Rangers, like I said, this is a 2002. If you know a good shock that'll bolt in, let me know. And let the other folks watching know. But overall, like I said, you know, it's not a bad kit. But you want to save yourself a little bit of time, just order you some different shocks and go ahead and order you a camber adjustment kit for the front as well. That way you don't wear your tires out and everything like that. And you know, like I said, I mean, I'm running stock full-size tires on it. I don't have a lot of rubbing issue. If I had better shocks, I really probably wouldn't have any rubbing whatsoever. But it is what it is for what I've got. And you know, like I said, that's the only complaint I really have, is the shocks. But like I said, you know, just take your time with it. Make sure everything's tightened down good. You'll want to make sure when you're putting the kit together that you make sure your front springs are in the spring pockets correctly. You want to make sure you've got everything adjusted and set right in the back. Make sure you set it on 4 wheels high enough in the air where you can get on it if you have access to a 4-post lift, or a like an oil change pit that you can get into where you can work on the suspension underneath the truck. You know, something like that. But put some load on it and then go back and readjust and tighten things as needed. But overall, so far, like I said, it's only been about 4 months. There's not been a lot of issues with the kit. But got any comments, questions, anything like that, let me know. I appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe.